we tend to ask the question, how do we make better pictures?
And people love taking photos with their iPhone for good reason. The iPhone has become the world's most popular video camera.
Not dwell on it for too long. Just figure out what's next.
So we tend to ask what makes a better picture. This camera is different than the camera like this guy. Those DSLR cinema camera has a massive sensor, a super insane color science, basically the high resolution like 8K, right? So right now if you got a better camera, probably the primary thing you're gonna look at is this guy. And what's the difference between these two and how this guy, who has such a small sensor, made the images so crazily, insanely better. So today we're gonna talk about something is called the computational photography.
It is computational photography mad science.
So computational photography we usually know about, for example, smart HDR, basically using different exposure of the picture merge into one and give you that balanced background, the portrait, photography, natural light, whatever artificial lighting, that's all computational photography. So what's the difference about this guy? Why is this guy introduced a new idea, computational photography? So let's start talking about it. First, this year we see two new concepts, or we can say not really concept because it's already the technology we're using every day. A lot of people doesn't even realize they keep using those things. It is Smart HDR, Deep Fusion, and Night Mode. So what's those three mean and how do they do their processing? So today let's talk about it. So let's start with Smart HDR. The Smart HDR usually work outside when the lighting is super insane, really harsh light during the day. That's where the Smart HDR shine because it's really easy to overexpose the subject. The Smart HDR is basically take 7 photos. So when you just raise your phone, starting the camera app, it's gonna keep continuous shooting photos. When I press the shutter button, it saves that image and they save the 7 photos before that. They merge into one in pixel level. It's gonna take different exposure image, expose in the background, expose me, and at the end there's 2 line exposure just to put more detail from the sky. It used something, a new concept started this year. It's called schematic rendering. So what is schematic rendering? So basically when I took a picture right now, there's a lot of noise in the image. So if I try to do denoise, a lot of detail gonna be missed, especially on the clothes, on the fabric. With the Apple engineer, so they're basically using the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, to separate the background, the people, and my clothes, and it's gonna analyze it, see what is this, and basically apply the different edit on different processing on those different places. So what is Deep Fusion then? So the Deep Fusion is basically working before the night mode is medium to low light. Before night mode is activated, you're taking multiple image and merging to one, creating a 224 megapixel image and denoise and downscale into a 12 megapixel image. So it's gonna give you more detail, especially on like the fabric and everything. It's also gonna apply a schematic rendering processing, gonna give you the way they want. And it's actually using the neural engine in the A13 Bionic chip because it's too much information basically squeezed into one. Like there's gonna be like gigabyte of like processing all throw into the A13 Bionic and the neural engine is analyzing. So that's the Deep Fusion. That is the new concept for this year. So at the last one, night mode. So night mode we can see on those Pixel phones, Samsung phone, Android phone, a lot of those phones including night mode a pretty long time ago. So this is kind of like a not new concept. But what's the night mode? Like a lot of people familiar with camera, they were like, oh, night mode is the long exposure. So you know these DSLR camera be able to take a long exposure. Basically I can set to 30 seconds and when I press the shutter gonna open it for 30 seconds. What that means is it lighting a lot of light. Right now this light is constant flashing on me. And right now I'm recording this video, so the shutter speed is set to 60. What that means is every 1 second the shutter actually open and close it up 60 times. So it's gonna, every time you're lighting only like a little bit of light because it just open and close it suddenly. So the light is super small when it lighting to the digital sensor or image sensor, or you can call CMOS, whatever you want to call it. What the light exposure do is when tweaking photography, like video, you can't do it because you have to match the frame rate instead of getting this higher refresh rate. The night mode is basically, it's also multiple picture merged into one. What they do is they use, for example, if I take a long 10-second long exposure or 10-second night mode, they actually use 10 1-second long exposure every picture, and then they took those 10 1-second long exposure, then merge into one to kind of like simulate you took a 10-second long exposure. But 1-second long exposure is also gonna resolve your shake. So they use, like I said, they use both optical and digital stabilization to kind of like resolve those shake in those 1-second long exposure, which is compared to 30-second we talked about earlier, it's insanely better. So those are computational photography. What I do is trying to use this smart feature and to kind of like simulate a lot of stuff using a computer to process in order to give you a picture is better than those camera. Like regular camera, you just have a really big powerful sensor, really huge aperture lens. A bigger sensor resolved more pixel, and the bigger individual pixel gonna give you better dynamic range. If you don't know what dynamic range is, it's basically when you're exposed to me, the background is not blow out. Like it's gonna maintain what it looks like the background is still blue. But those small sensor phone doesn't do that. Like because it's so small, the individual pixel has to be narrowed down. So what happens if it doesn't give you that much dynamic range? So what I'll do is just take multiple different exposure picture and merge into one, then it give you a really good dynamic range picture. And the night mode, if they can do a long exposure handheld, they're gonna just do multiple 1-second long exposure and merge into one, and give you this like really good low light performance. Like those are just some smart feature that we use every day in our pocket. A lot of people shooting with deep fusion, shooting with smart HDR, shooting with night mode, they doesn't even know like they were actually using it. Here's why computational photography is like people doesn't know what they're doing, just start shooting it, and it's gonna give them a super good result without doing all this like dialing the settings, super expensive camera gear, tripod, and the editing room, like everything. Apple including this editing thing in the iOS 13 where you can just tap to edit and apply a filter, which we call it presets, which is super expensive, insanely expensive in the photography. If you're a professional photographer, you're gonna spend a lot of money to buy those things. For iPhone, they just included in the box, and with this phone, and I think it's incredible. So here's the end of the video, and hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys in the next video. Peace.
We could go back to my place, 'cause I don't wanna waste no precious time. So let's go back to my